Good morning everybody, this is Victoria. Welcome back to another episode of Art Tutorials. Today we are going to learn how to blend with colored pencils. So I'm gonna walk you through on how I blend with my colored pencils and giving you guys some tips and advice on how to blend smoothly and how to create richer tones by adding and mixing multiple different colors together, and also teaching you how to layer colors very lightly one after another to build up those nice and vibrant color tones. And for those who are brand new to this art YouTube channel, my name is Victoria and I am a fine art artist, illustrator, and art teacher, and I create these fun, inspiring, and motivating art tutorials and also drawing processes to help you learn and improve your drawing and painting skills. If you guys are ready to start some blending and coloring, let's get started. Okay, now first things first, let's get our art materials. So first what we'll need is some type of paper. Sketch paper would work. I would probably recommend sketch or drawing paper. Printing paper works too though, but it might be a little bit harder to build up the color tones just because it's a lot more smoother, it's a lot more waxier. So I prefer something that would grip on to the colored pencils a little bit better, so something has more tooth, more texture onto it, so sketch paper or drawing paper. Next, we'll need some type of colored pencils. I use Crayola colored pencils. You can use any any colored pencils that you have at home. It doesn't have to be Crayola, it can be any other ones. Faber-Castell works, Prismacolor also works, whatever you have at home. I just personally like to use Crayola because it's a nice budget and affordable color pencils that anyone can kind of get, and you can actually create really amazing artworks with these really nice color pencils. Like, they're not the best grade color pencils for sure out there, but for the price that they have them at, it's a very reasonable price for the quality that they give out. So I recommend Crayola since I've been using it for many years. This is also the 24 color set. And what we'll need as well as an eraser, just in case if we make any mistakes, we can still kind of correct because we are going light enough with our colored pencils. And the other very important thing is a pencil sharpener. We want to keep our pencils nice and sharp because that would make a big difference on how well your coloring comes out and how smooth it does, because we want to be able to see and know where we are coloring exactly. So make sure it's nice and pointy. Okay, so now since we got all of our colored pencils and all our materials out of the way, now we can actually get started and do some drawing exercises so that we can get nice, beautifully blended coloring. Okay, so now let's break down the steps in order to achieve smooth coloring, even so it's not choppy and it doesn't look blotchy or patchy or anything. Nice and smooth, clean, buttery coloring. Okay, so let's actually first talk about layering. So layering plays a very big role in having even and smooth coloring because you don't want to color very dark and you don't want to color like really hard at the very beginning. You want to make sure you build light layers, and as you add more layers, the colors will become more vibrant. So, you know, when we were kids and we tend to kind of press super hard so that we can actually fill in as much as possible, and it's just like hard, flat filling in, and then there's nothing much to it. It doesn't look as nice, and then it's harder to control because we put so much pressure into the pencil that it's uneven because every pressure is like a bit different. So you're better off adding layers. So as you can see over here, I'm adding first layer and it looks pretty light. And then let's go ahead and add second layer. So that's first layer, and then we're gonna go over it again. And as you can see, this color already starts to kind of get a lot more orange. And then we're going to do 3 layers this time. So in order to get that nice vibrant colors out, you don't have to press extremely hard because A, you're gonna snap your pencil and then you have to go back and sharpen and do all this mumbo jumbo things, which you probably don't want, and it doesn't come out as nice. So you're probably better off adding layers, oh yeah, and another thing, your hand's gonna start hurting a lot because of all the pressure that you're putting. You know when you're writing and you hold and you grip onto your pencil even harder the faster you write and you're pressing like super hard? Yeah, that's the same idea. So make sure you relax your hands, add very light layers. You don't need to put so much pressure on the pencil when you're coloring, and just take it easy. So 2 main things you want to remember about layering, and the first thing is remain light with each layer, and then number 2 is add more layers if you want it to look more vibrant. Now, second tip is direction of coloring or hatching. So yeah, we're back to hatching again. So basically what happens here is it's the same way as we would hatch with regular pencils, whether it's graphite or charcoal or whatever. It's the same method. So as you can see over here, I'm moving all of my strokes to the right, and then we're going to do an example of having the strokes moving downwards, and you would kind of continue and try out different directions. So each direction creates a different texture, and it kind of blends a little bit differently. So make sure that you kind of keep the directions the same so that it would blend a lot smoother instead of going in all directions. So there is another way where you can actually do cross-hatching though, but they're still more or less organized. It's not just random scribbling and coloring like we would do when we were kids. So we got our straight hatching over here, and then the next thing we're going to do here is some curved hatching. Well, let me sharpen my pencil. Yeah, it's after all that drawing, it's wearing out this orange pencil. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, so now we're gonna do some curved hatching. So let's go ahead and add a curved hatching downwards. So we're just going to follow the arrow in which direction the arrow is going. So we're going to go ahead and curve our hatching this way. So with this type of coloring, it would be very nice for curved objects. So anything that's more organic, more rounded, or anything that's like a lot more smooth and not flat. So you can do a whole bunch of different combinations. You can curve upwards. You can also curve downwards. And as you can see, like even if the curves, I try to keep the hatching very consistent, so spacing in between each line, and then also how much pressure I actually put on each layer, because each layer is very light. If I want this to look a lot more vibrant, I just add more layers. Okay, and there you go. We have our set of curved hatching. But feel free to kind of experiment different directions with curved hatching, and you can do a whole bunch of combination with curved and straight. So now what we're going to do here is we're going to do the cross hatching method. So this one is the one I was talking about earlier. So it does have a organized direction where you want to color. It's kind of like when you're doing cross hatching with pencil. So what we want to do here is that we would pick one direction, which I picked a downwards diagonal direction, and I will also pick a downwards vertical direction. So once you kind of blend that in, you have 2 layers of coloring, and then that would automatically make that color a lot more vibrant, a lot more orange. And yes, I'm sharpening my pencil again because it's wearing out, and I think my pencil's dying. I think I just snapped I think I just snapped the tip, I believe. Yeah, sometimes pencil sharpeners don't go as, oh, there it goes. Sometimes it doesn't go as well, so I tend to sharpen it the traditional way with an X-Acto knife, which looks something like that though. I got backups of my pencils, so just in case if one snaps, I could just go ahead and grab another one. But let's get back to cross-hatching. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to do a curved cross-hatching. So I'm going to, whoa, camera, focus. Camera, focus. I'm gonna curve downwards, and then also I'm gonna curve to the right side, so we have a curved cross-hatching version of this coloring. And then I think so I'm probably gonna do one that's probably straight. So you can do one that's like normal one. This is a upwards vertical hatching, and then also we're gonna do a right to left horizontal hatching. So this is like a more ordinary cross hatching that we would use, but yeah, feel free to kind of have like a combination of the two. Okay, so now we're gonna start blending and mixing colors. So we're going to need yellow. We're also going to need yellow orange, and then also we will also need red. So this is just plain red. So what we're actually going to do here is that first things first is that you want to make sure you start with the lightest color. So we're just going to color in a very light patch over here, and we're probably just going to do one layer. If you find it a little bit too light, you can go for like 2 layers, and this is our very first and base layer. So you always want to start with the lightest color first, and then after that you would go for the next darker color. So if you're having just 2 colors to blend in together, then it's just light and dark, and then if you have something that's in between, you do light, medium, dark. So now I'm adding the yellow orange over here, and I'm going back to the yellow to blend again, and this is how you mix. So this is how you're gonna blend in and smooth out the coloring, because you're using the lightest color, which is our yellow, as a blender, and depending on if you want the color or the patch to have more orange or more yellow, then you can add more orange if you want it to look more orange, or less orange if you want to make it look a little bit more like a yellow orange. Whoa. Okay, and that camera doesn't want to focus. And we're gonna do 2 dots so that we remember which colors we use. So we use yellow and yellow orange. So let's go ahead and do another patch over here beside it, and we are also going to start with the lightest color first. Start with yellow. I added about 2 to 3 layers, and now we're gonna go with yellow orange, which is a medium color, because we're going to mix 3 colors this time. So we're gonna go yellow, yellow orange, and we're also going to add red now. So red is going to be our darkest color, because we want to be a little bit more careful of how much red we have, because it can get a little bit choppy, a little bit more streaky, because it's a darker color. So make sure you keep your layers light, because that will make it a lot easier to control, and you would kind of go back and blend with the orange and the yellow. So depending on if you want it to be more of like an orange red, or if you want it to be a little bit more of like a orange with a tint of red and with a tint of yellow. And we're gonna also mark down to see what colors we used for this patch. Now we have 2 patches, and let's go ahead and try with something that has a colder color. So I'm going to use light blue. Okay, this is light blue. And then we will also use pink. So with these 2 colors, it actually makes a nice light violet / purple. So we're gonna start with the lightest color, which is pink, and we're going to add a few layers, and then it's kind of like how we did with the yellow and the yellow orange. And then now we're gonna go ahead and add our light blue. So be very careful with the light blue. It will look streaky at first, but you just have to go back and blend with the pink, and with a little bit of the light blue. I would be very careful with the light blue, because it is a lot darker compared to the pink, and then you want to make sure it blends really nicely. So I would rather have more pink than the light blue. And then now you kind of see like the color is slowly kind of coming out, so you can actually control what you want depending on which color you add more of. So here, what we're going to do is a new batch of color mixing. So we're going to use pink and magenta. So we're going to do first light layer of pink, and I'm probably going to add like 2-3 layers, and then here we're going to add the magenta. So magenta is kind of like a cold red or like a dark pink, and we're going to kind of go back and forth with the magenta and the pink in order for it to blend. So usually you want to use your lighter colors to act as a blender. Some people use white. I am not a big fan of using white color pencils, or those blender pencils that you mix color pencils with. I'm not a big fan of those ones. They tend to make the coloring very bland, and then they also kind of like whitewash it, so it's not as clear and vibrant anymore. Okay, last part of the coloring and blending tip and advice. So here we are going to learn how to apply this to a shape. So we're going to use a very basic shape. I'm going to use a circle, and we're going to turn this into a sphere. So we're going to learn how we would actually apply the different types of hatching and coloring to this shape over here, and we are going to add a little light source so that we know where is the brightest part on our object, and then that way we would know where we would actually add the colors and also the shading or coloring. So let's go ahead and start with the lightest color. So let's start with yellow. Oh yeah, and the combination of colors for this one is that we're going to use yellow, yellow green, and green. I think it was yellow green. It was green yellow or yellow green. I think it was yellow green. Okay, so let's add first the lightest color with a few curved hatching yellow, if that makes sense. You know, curved hatching with the color yellow, and we're gonna make sure that we kind of blend in the yellow on its own. So once we have that and we filled in majority of the white spacings of the paper, we're going to use yellow green. So with the yellow green, you would probably want to add a little bit less. You don't want to add too much because you want to kind of balance it out from the yellow and the yellow green. So make sure you kind of layer it very lightly. All layers are very light. You're supposed to add more layers in order to get it more vibrant, more green. So let's go ahead and add first layer, and as you can see, I'm kind of like going back and forth, so you can actually stop and start again at any moment. You just kind of have to see, okay, I want this area to have a little bit more of the yellow green. This part I think so has enough, so I can actually just skip that and just kind of move on to the other areas where I find that it needs a lot more of the yellow green. Okay, and then now we're going to probably add a little bit more layers because I want the shadows over here to be a little bit more darker and a little bit more intense. And we shall use the yellow as a blender so that it mixes the yellow green and the yellow together. Yeah, I probably don't want to use a medium color. It really depends, because if it's a darker green sphere, then you could use the yellow green as a blender. You can use that to blend the green and the yellow green though, but for right now we're just going to blend with the yellow and add more yellow green to make it more vibrant, more green, more dark on certain areas that we need it to be. And we're gonna go ahead and let me fill in all the stuff over here. Filling in. Yeah, it's a lot of back and forth process. It does take time to, whoa, focus, focus camera, focus, 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 focus. Okay, and as you can see, I'm also cleaning out the edges too. So here I kind of applied a bit of cross hatching. So cross hatching will also make the coloring layer darker and more vibrant because you're using different directions of hatching. And you can actually pick and select which area you want to make, you want to make it a little bit more darker. Okay, and now we are ready for the dark green, which is just called green. So we're gonna add the green on the bottom area of the sphere, and then you want to be extra careful of this one because it will be really streaky if you tend to not have a good balance with how much pressure you put on your pencil, because it will become really streaky, it won't look as smooth, and you just want to make sure you always keep those layers light. Just go super light. It's really simple, really straightforward. You don't have to make it too hard for yourself, and it's so much more controllable because if it's too light, it didn't seem like it made it any darker. Well, you just add more until you find that perfect balance of how much pressure you would put or how much layer you put, but always go light. And as you can see here, we're using the yellow green to blend with the green. So kind of like what I mentioned earlier, you can use the medium color to blend a darker color if it has a darker color, but usually I would like to use the lighter color because it tends to blend a lot better and you're not too afraid to add too much because it's our lightest color. And I'm actually also gradually spreading the yellow to the top there because the highlight is a little bit too big, so I want to build more variety and more different tones in my green color over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the yellow up, and we're also going to bump up the yellow green as well. So make sure you add gradually because now it's getting lighter and lighter and it's getting close to becoming just yellow. So we're going to kind of be very, very careful when we try to fade this yellow green away to the point that it becomes yellow. Oh yeah. Oh, that's a lot of talking there. But yeah, so go back and forth, try to find your balance to see how to blend and smooth things out, because it really incorporates just a few things, how much layers you add, how much pressure you add per layer, and as you blend more and kind of figure out, okay, here it needs to have a little bit more yellow green, and then also here it needs to have a little bit more of the yellow, and then you'll find that nice balance. But the key idea is to make sure that the gradient and then gradation is very smooth. But yeah, that's pretty much it for coloring and blending. So we're probably gonna have a very quick summary at the very end, but just let me tweak and add a little bit more cross hatching over here for the sphere. But yeah, and there you go, we have completed our coloring. So I hope this was a very helpful video for you guys about how to blend with colored pencils and giving you guys some tips and advice to help you get smoother, more buttery, and even coloring. Here is a final summary just to have you guys keep in mind these very important tips. So we have 4 main tips to keep in mind. First one is layering. So make sure to layer your color. Don't color very dark at the very beginning. Light layering. And then the other things you want to remember is if you want the colors to be more vibrant, you would add more layers. So if you want the colors to be darker, more vibrant, more green and all that stuff, you would just add more layers. So always light layers and add more layers to make it more colorful. Next thing you want to keep in mind is direction of coloring and hatching. So in order to get a even, smooth, and consistent coloring, you would need to make sure that the directions of the hatching stay the same. Unless if you're doing cross hatching, then that's a different story. So you can either do straight hatching, curved hatching, or cross hatching, but make sure you kind of keep it somewhat organized. We don't want to color all over in all directions one after another, because what happens is that when you're layering, it's not even. So some places would be just blank where you didn't actually color over properly, and those are the places that will seem lighter. And then there are places that you've already colored and those places would become darker. So that's why it makes it look really patchy and really uneven. And then third thing you want to keep in mind is make sure you add your light color first when you're blending and mixing colors. Light colors first, because if you ever do a mistake, you can always go back and erase. But the other things that light colors don't really go well on top of darker colors, mostly when you're trying to blend the two. You want to make sure that they're in harmony and then they kind of balance out one another, and you don't want the darker colors to be too intense and you don't even see the lighter colors anymore. And last but not least, blend with the lighter colors, because with darker colors, you're going to blend it and you're going to make it darker and darker. So if you blend with the lighter colors, at least you can kind of preserve and keep that light color tone that you wanted so that it doesn't get darker and darker as you blend more, because that's not the main important part about blending, because blending is just to smooth things out. It doesn't really change the actual darkness of the tone. So you want to be a little bit mindful of which color you add in order to blend, but try to find the balance, play around, experiment, have fun trying different combinations and mixtures of colors, and eventually you'll find that nice balance. Oh yeah, and also I created a special coloring page for you guys. It's all Fuzz! So have fun coloring those in. There's instructions on the coloring page. You can either color them in with the colors that I noted down on the page, or you could also pick your own colors to fill them in, but try out the new techniques and methods that you learned from this video and apply it while you're coloring these Fuzz. So have fun, experiment, try out different color mixtures, try out different directions of filling in the coloring, and then do your best to do a nice, buttery, smooth blending. That's what we want. The download link is in the description below, so make sure to check that out, download it, print it out, color it, have fun, and yeah, that's pretty much for today. So I hope this brand new video is helpful for you guys. I hope you guys learned a little bit more about how to color with color pencils, and it's really fun to kind of experiment, and once you got the hang of it, then you can actually create really nice illustrations, drawings, and just kind of enjoy coloring a lot more. If you guys like this video, please don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. There's going to be so much more art tutorials, drawing process coming out soon. Please also make sure to click the like button if you like the video, and also please comment below if you have any questions about coloring and blending colors with color pencils, or if you have any other questions about future tips and advice that I could give you guys to help you improve your drawing skills and painting skills. Okay, I think so that's pretty much it. I think so I got everything. Oh yeah, and then if you guys want more constructions or coloring pages, I do also have that on my Patreon, so make sure you check out my Patreon. There's a whole bunch of goodies on there. If you sign up for learning Fuzz tier or student Fuzz tiers, there's a whole bunch of construction, drawing exercises, hatching exercises, coloring pages, and so much more. And then you also get a poll where you get to vote what other stuff that you would like to learn or future drawing constructions you'd like me to create. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope to see you guys next week for new drawing processes or art tutorials. But yeah, wishing you guys all the best. Take care, have a great week, have a great weekend, have a wonderful month, and well, I'll still see you guys though. But yeah, enjoy, have fun practicing, stay creative, and till next time, see you, bye bye.